you are not comfortable, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, it's always good to see, the faces behind the names, because I can see just the names on the screen. So yeah. Okay, all right. I think it's 6:05 already. So we have 43 participants. I'm going to start, and those who joins later, for them, the recording will be there in case if they miss a lot, the recording will be there. And again, one thing I want to mention that if you were not in the resume session one, if you have missed our first session, I am sure you know that we have the recording available, and I believe all of you have access to the Google Doc where the recordings are uploaded. So feel free to check out the recording. And in case if you don't know, if you don't have access, please let me know. I can share the link to the Google Doc. Okay, all right. So I'll start. I'm going to share my screen. So can everybody see my screen? Yes? No? You can
Yes.
kindly let me know. Yes? Okay, that's great. Okay. Abrahim, did I pronounce your name right? Thank you so much for confirming. Yes, okay. Sri Lakshmi, thank you so much. Okay, good. So that means everyone can see my screen. I'm audible. Everyone can hear me all right? Yes, I hope so. Okay, just in case, if you cannot hear me, let me know. And okay, let me check the messages. Yes, Laura, thank you. And thank you for confirming. All right, so once again, welcome to our session, which is crafting data science and machine learning resume part 2. So to start with, I'm just going to start with a quick recap of what we have done, discussed about in the last session. So last session, in case if you were not here, we discussed about the primary objective of the resume, different styles, like functional resumes, chronological resumes, modified chronological resumes. We also discussed about various components that make up a good resume, essential factors that contribute to an impactful and effective resume. We also discussed a little bit about cover letters, what is the objective of cover letter, and how can you craft an effective cover letter, how to write about your accomplishment statements, all those things. And in today's session, we are going to discuss about common resume mistakes, applicant tracking systems, use of AI, how can we use ChatGPT, how can we use JobScan? JobScan is a tool. How can we use JobScan to find the keywords? And how can we craft targeted or tailored resumes using JobScan? So these are the things that we are going to talk about today. And again, I will pause time to time and I will try to find out if you have any questions, and feel free to stop me. Feel free to type your questions in the chat box. Feel free to go off mute and share any ideas, your thoughts, any questions, okay? All right, so common resume mistakes. So to start with, I want to ask some questions, but this is not talking about mistakes. I want to ask some questions regarding some stats. So I will try to launch a poll and let's see. Okay, so the first question is, what percentage of recruiters will reject a candidate due to poor grammar or spelling errors? What do you think? 25%, 59%, 75%? Do you think like grammar and spelling errors are very important? What do you think? 25%, okay, 59%, 75, 75. Okay, all right. So majority thinks that 75% of recruiters will reject a candidate if the resume has grammar and spelling errors. Okay. And then my second question is, I'm going to go to the answers later. The second question is, okay. So this is the second question. What percentage of recruiters do you think will reject a candidate if their resume is filled with cliches? 25%, 75%, over 50%, over 50. Okay. Okay, majority thinks that over 50% recruiters will reject a resume full of cliches. Okay, over 50%. Okay, great. And then my next question is, okay, so what percentage of recruiters are put off by overly designed resumes? Like very fancy fonts, fancy designs, fancy formats. What do you think? 25%, 80%, over 40%, 80%? Okay. All right. Okay, so majority thinks that 80% recruiters don't like
Hey
fancy
Siri,
formats.
make a note.
Okay.
Hey.
I can see, I think there are lots of messages. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you so much. People have responded in the chat box as well. That's great. Over 40. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Now let's actually look at the numbers. Let's see. So as you can see, 59% of recruiters will reject a candidate because of poor grammar and spelling errors. So from this, so this is a little bit more than half of the recruiters, right? So you can understand how important it is for you to avoid the grammar and spelling errors on a resume. That is one of the most important thing and very commonly we see mistakes on the resume. And as you can see, a little bit more than a half of the recruiters will reject the candidate because of spelling and grammar errors, right? And also, as you can see, over 50% of recruiters will reject a candidate if their resume is full of cliches. Now, what do we mean by cliches? I'm going to show you some good examples. And then again, over 40% are also put off by fancy designs, fancy formats. So by this, you can understand that it's not necessary to use fancy formats or fancy layouts for the resume, keeping it simple, keeping it very basic, even though it looks boring to us. But then again, this is actually much better in terms of your resume being filtered by the ATS, and also it looks better to the recruiters because they're easy to read, the information is easy to find, and recruiters doesn't have to spend a lot of time trying to understand the information or find the information that they're looking for on your resume. Okay, now let's look at some of the examples of what do we mean by cliches and why you should avoid it. Okay. All right. Now, for example, read this one. It says, if I say, for example, on my resume, I am a team player with excellent communication skills. So do you think this is a very, a very good statement? What do you think? Or what do you think if there is a problem with this? What is a problem? Why do you think that is a problem? Like, what is your feedback? What do you think? Do you think this is a good way to write about the communication skills, the soft skill, right? Do you think it's a good example in terms of highlighting your soft skills? Anyone? Yes? No? No? Okay. I think there is a response to the chat box. No. Cliche, need more details. Not a good example. Carlos. Okay. Carlos, can you tell us, or anybody who can tell us, what could be a good example? How can we change this? How can we rewrite differently to make this better? Not enough detail. Need to include an example. Laura, yes.
Should avoid. I can tell you something about that. You can be more factual about that. Like, let's say you were able to contribute in a project where you were able to communicate certain specific things, and because of that, you attained a goal of such and such percentage or something like that. That's more tangible, I think.
Exactly. Very good example, Carlos. Like giving real examples, right? Should avoid using I. That's Roslyn. Meher Nosh, I hope I pronounce your name right. It should be passive. And Anne Paul says, no, I is focusing too much on myself. Wow. Thank you, everyone. So yes, of course, as Carlos said, So this is definitely not a good example, right? We have to provide evidence. Like I can say, like, for example, I am a recruiter and I receive hundreds of resumes, right? And I'm looking at hundreds of resumes. And imagine I'm going through the resumes and every resume, because nobody will say that I don't have great communication skill, right? Everybody will say that I'm great in this. I have great communication skill. I'm a team player. And then imagine reading the same thing again and again on the resumes. So it actually doesn't have any impact on me, right? Like, for example, if I'm the recruiter, I'm going to be, oh my God, every person is a team player. Every person claims to be have great communication skills. So that doesn't actually make you stand out in the crowd, right? So what can we do to stand out in the crowd? What can we do to add value to the statements, add value to the statements that we are adding on our resume? Now, how can we make it better? Carlos already gave an example. So for example, now let's read this one. So instead of I'm a team player with excellent communication skills, if I'm writing, collaborated with a 10-person team to develop a new customer service protocol, reducing response time by 30% and improve satisfaction scores by 15%. So as you can see, by adding some numbers, so what I have done, I have collaborated, rather than saying I'm a team player, I have specifically mentioned that I have collaborated with a big team which consisted 10 people. And then what I have done, I have developed a new customer service protocol. And as a result, so this is what I have done. And as a result, what happened? How did it add value to the company, or how did it add value to my team, right? So reduced the response time by 30%. And that was one result. It reduced the response time. And in addition to that, it improved satisfaction scores by 15%. So you see how we can add numbers, matrix, and then the entire information that we are sharing on the resume, it changes, right? Now it looks so valuable. And as a recruiter, I will definitely, think that, oh my God, this person had a lot of contribution, in his or her team, right? So this is something we always tell our participants, that rather than using cliche statements, I'm a great communicator, I'm a great collaborator, I'm a great team player, all these things, rather than that, use examples, real examples, and mention how did you add value. And when you're talking about how did you add value, I always say that, look at this, like when you're crafting your bullets, you're thinking in your mind that, okay, how can I quantify? Because not every, like, I understand, like, not everything that you do can be measurable, right? So of course, so it's difficult. So I always tell the participants that I would recommend, if you can think of it from two different lenses, like, how did I add value to my team? Probably I have developed a system that made the work, like, overall process easier for my team. So that is adding value. Or how did I add value to the company? Did I save money for the company? Did I save time? Did I improve the customer service process? So what did I do? So you can think of it from two different lenses in terms of how did you add value for the employer, or how did you add value to your team? Then it's easier. I like, from my personal experience, I can tell you that it's easier to write your accomplishment statements. And also, one thing I highly recommend to think, like, many of us, what we do is we are doing the work, right? So for example, I know my work, what I'm doing, and I'm like, okay, this is what I do, like all the nitty-gritty stuff I do and I understand. But if you think from perspective of a third person, like the other person, they don't know. So sometimes what we do, we do not provide additional details. So I always recommend, think about how can you, when you're crafting your bullets, when you're writing about your achievement statements, think about how can I paint a clear picture in the reader's mind. This is very important. You know what you're doing. You know you're collaborating with a big team. You know the outcomes of your hard work, right? But always think about adding small details, because the other person who is reading that information on your resume has no idea what you do, rather than the general responsibilities, I mean. So you are trying to paint a clear picture in the recruiter's mind. And the only way to paint a clear picture is by giving them all those small details. So this is very important. Now let's look at some more examples. Okay. Now, okay, yeah, I hope everyone can see this. Okay, so again, one more example. Lead a team of 5 to come. So this is what I have done. What did I do? I led a team of 5 people to complete a project in 2 weeks ahead of schedule, increasing productivity by 20%. As you can see, I have made this numbers bold because you can see that how by adding numbers, adding matrix, you have just added value to this bullet. You have added more value to what you have done. Again, another good example, developed. So you're starting with an action word. Developed, what I have done, I have developed and presented what? A marketing strategy that increased social media engagement by 30%. Again, using numbers, using metrics. How did you add value? I have increased the social media engagement by doing this. Third example, collaborated with a cross-functional team to launch a new product, resulting in 15% increase in sales within the first quarter. Again, you mentioned the time. So this is something I have achieved within the first quarter, that is first few months, right? And then there was a 15% increase. So again, in the reader's mind, when I'm reading this, if I'm the recruiter and I'm reading this, I can see that, wow, this person has some, great contribution towards their team. So definitely, this person has done such a great job in their previous job. So I will definitely want to hire this person because I'm sure that they're going to do great in the role that I am hiring for, right? So always, so the key thing is, these are all your accomplishment statements. And when you're crafting your bullets, think about, start with action words, what you have done, and how did you, as a result, what happened? How did you add value either for the employer or for your team? Now, again, I understand, I often find that participants find it very difficult. Like, again, including myself, when I used to, I was, when I was looking for a job and I worked on my resume, and then I found out about this, like quantifying your achievements. I also struggled with it, but it is difficult. I totally understand. But then again, if you think about how did you add value, and if you think about in terms of numbers and metrics, then I think it gets easier to think, and then automatically when you will be crafting your bullets, you will automatically write it this way. Okay. Next, again, some tips is be specific, show, don't tell. So that means don't just say that I'm a great communicator, rather than mention why are you claiming that you're a great communicator, right? So give them evidence, mention something. So it's not like just some cliche that I'm a great communicator, rather back it up with evidence. Use action verbs like led, developed, collaborated. Use action verbs, which is very important. And again, finally, quantify your achievements. Now, I know many of you will think that, in the resume session 1, we already heard a lot about quantifying your achievement. And again, today, Farhana is also talking about quantifying about your achievements once again. So this is something which is very, very, very important, and a big difference in a good resume and an average resume is depends on how better you are quantifying your achievements. Okay. All right, next. So let's look at some more resume mistakes. Yes.
I do have a question.
Yes, of course, please.
I want to know how best one can keep track of all of the achievements, especially when you're at the peak of your everyday activity. It's not something that comes natural. I could think of how many people I've worked with when you want to quantify it, especially when you have to present that as this is who I am and this is what I've done over the time past. Like what have you found over the past period that has worked for you for one to be able to quantify these things? And don't forget, do you have a tracker? Like, how does that really work for one?
Okay. For me, to be honest, I would say initially I have really struggled a lot because, again, I have career consultancy experience and also HR experience. And from my personal experience, I can tell you that I would really struggle a lot to think about quantifying my achievements, especially for my HR roles, because it wasn't something like sales, right? Increased sales by 20%. or met sales target within first 3 months, for example. So it wasn't something like that. So what I would do is I would note down the things that I have, like, for example, in my last, I'm just giving an example, like last role, I worked a lot on improving the ATS system, improving the recruitment process. So what I would do, I would just note it down, like I have introduced this system, right? Or probably trained manager on this, or probably introduced, like updated this process. So all those little notes I would keep for myself. And then, because of course, when you're working, you don't consider this as your achievements. You're thinking, okay, this is part of my job and I'm doing it. But if you keep notes of it, like which did not exist before, and then after you moved in, you have started doing things. If you keep a note of that, end of the day, when you sit and you want to write about your achievements, you see that, okay, oh my God, I didn't think that I did, a lot of things. But actually, when you will read all those, you're like, oh, wow, I have actually trained 15 managers in 3 months. I have introduced these 3 new processes. I have actually, utilized probably this feature of the ATS system and made the recruitment process faster. So that is your first starting point. Then I realized, okay, so now that I'm reading, I can see that, okay, so this made the recruitment process faster, but how do I measure it, right? So that's when I started thinking about, okay, so how many positions did I fill up? For example, maybe in 2 months, I filled up 15 positions. So I have a number. I can go back and I can see that, okay, how many recruitments I have completed, right? How many positions did I fill up? So that gave me some numbers. Then I realized it's very important to note the time to fill. I'm just talking about from HR perspective, from my role that I was previously doing. So that's when I realized, okay, so I could see that, for example, earlier it would take, for example, 4 weeks, right? From job posting to onboarding, the time was 4 weeks. And then after I moved in, what I'm doing is, and after bringing all those changes to the process, updating all those processes, probably the time to fill is now 2 weeks. And that gives me the matrix. I'm like, oh, okay, so I did a good job there. I have definitely made the recruitment process faster. And then, for example, training 15 managers. So what I have done, I have trained them, and now they are also taking less time to fill up the positions. So first thing is noting down on an everyday basis, bit by bit, what you're doing new in the team that was not there, what you are introducing, how you are adding value, or what you have changed. And then end of the day, it will be a lot. And then you will remember, and you will also, you can also think about, okay, how can I quantify? Did that answer your question? Yes, no?
Yeah, yes, it did.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I think I have some message in the chat box. Let's see. Also, companies measure KPIs. You can use those to write your accomplishments. Yes, of course. Very good suggestion, Carlos. Thank you so much. And I usually think about what internal KPIs we use in our projects. Yes, definitely. That's a good starting point too. So, but again, not all positions have KPIs. Like usually, I don't know, like from my experience, I haven't seen like KPIs being provided at the very beginning. So I will start by noting it down. And then of course, like I can take points from KPIs too, just in case. Like if you don't see, like if you are not provided with the KPIs at the very beginning, like these are the targets, you have to meet this within the first 3 months, you have to meet this within the first 6 months. Not all the times like you're provided with this. If you are, that's great, that's a good reference point. If not, you can keep your own notes, and then you can think of how you can quantify your achievements. Okay, all right, now let's look at some more resume mistakes. Okay, now again, we already talked about these grammar and punctuation errors. I don't think I have to talk about this, like how important it is. I cannot just stress enough on the importance of this one. So again, make sure you proofread your resume multiple times. Very common. I know we all do this. And also use Grammarly. There are lots of different options now, and I find Grammarly the most easy one. You can just add it as a extension if you're using a Chrome browser, or You can just also put the entire text, go to the Grammarly website and copy and paste it, and then it's going to check for you. I'm sure everybody knows about Grammarly. And of course, it's always a good idea to ask a friend or a colleague to review it, because again, for example, when you're working on a single, like this is from my personal experience, when I'm working on a single document for a couple of hours, and then I'm constantly looking at it, it's very easy for me to skip a mistake. But then again, when somebody else is reading it, even in terms of the language, if you give it to somebody and the feedback, it's very important because they're reading it like from a different point of view, right? And they will be able to give you better feedback. So this is something I have found that it has been always helpful for me. So that's why I suggest it. I'm suggesting it to you, like share it with a friend or colleague and ask them to review it. Okay. Another common mistake, again, poor formatting. So I have seen lots of resumes, even in our, like last cohort, which is cohort 4. Like it's like, I know they didn't finish. They're going to finish within a week probably, if I'm not wrong. So poor formatting. So formatting is very important. I know people like to use different fonts, different styles. But then again, you have to be very careful about having like being consistent. For example, maybe in some places you're using Times New Roman, and then some parts you're using Calibri. I have seen this a lot. So again, being consistent. If you're using Times New Roman, great. Make sure all of your resume, all the texts are in Times New Roman. If you are using font size 14 just for the headings, make sure all your headings are of the same size. Very basic, I know, but then again, very common, very common mistake that we often see on the resumes, poor formatting. And also alignment. Sometimes you will see that the bullets, the bullet alignments, or probably the text alignment, the paragraph alignments are not aligned, like same, they don't have the same alignment. So again, this is something important to check. Now, tips: use clean and simple layout with consistent font styles and sizes. Don't use anything too fancy. It's not required, not important, doesn't add value to your resume, not at all. And recruiters don't care about it. And also, if you're using too fancy, it might not be read properly by the ATS. So keep it very basic, very simple, consistent. And use professional fonts like Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman. Avoid using decorative fonts. Ensure proper alignment and spacing. Spacing is also important. Sometimes you will see that from one, for example, this is very common. I see that when people list experiences, so probably the first experience, and then maybe the second experience, they will have like, 2 space gaps, like 2 tabs, probably 2 sentences. And then for the next one, probably it will be less space compared to the first one. So that really doesn't look nice. So again, being careful about all this formatting is very important. Avoid graphics, multiple colors, unconventional layouts. And again, this might look impressive, but can be difficult to read and process by ATS and sometimes by the recruiter as well. Okay, next is too long resume. Now, this is a very, very, very common question that I always get asked at Farhana: should my resume be of 1 page or 2 pages or 3 pages? Again, ideally, it should be of 2 pages max. So if you are at the beginning of your career, you don't have much, experience, 1 pager is fine. If you are a mid-career professional, like you have 5 to 10 years of experience, you should be able to fit all your information within 2 pages. Because again, recruiters are busy people, they don't have time. And I'm sure by now you know that the maximum time that a recruiter looks at your resume, like I'm talking about the initial scan, the first scan is 6 seconds, right? So 6 to 7 seconds. So less than 10 seconds, as you can imagine. So probably they'll just quickly scan, and then they want to find out whether within that 5 to 6 seconds that, okay, do I want to shortlist this person for the second round, whether they have all the skills and experiences that we are looking for. So that's why it's always best idea to keep it max up to 2 pages. Again, it will depend from, case to case. Some people can also have 1-page resume. If you don't have that extensive experience, that's perfectly fine, but max would be 2 pages. Again, some tips is focus on relevant experience and achievements. Now, this is something you will hear us talking every single time we talk about resumes. focusing on relevant experience and achievements. Now, by this, I mean, for example, if I have 10 years of experience and I have probably 5 years of experience as, for example, as a data analyst, and then 5 years of experience as finance analyst, and I am going to apply for a position for a data analyst position, right? So again, which one is my most relevant experience? Of course, my data analyst experience is the most relevant one. So that is something I'm going to highlight most on my resume. After that, if I have space, like I'm talking in terms of space, if I have space, I'm going to put my finance analyst experience, but my first priority will be the data analyst experience. And usually people have, like, there is space when you are using a 2-page resume. So, but you're going to list your data analyst one first. That is what I highly recommend. I'm going to talk about that more. I'm talking about modified chronological style. I am a big fan of that, and I'm going to explain more. And of course, we're going to talk about that more during our one-on-one sessions. That is something I have personally found very helpful. And again, as I said, I want to put the relevant experience on top, because within the first few seconds that the recruiter is going to look at my resume, I want them to know that, okay, hey, look, I have got all the relevant experiences and skills that you're looking for, that you have mentioned in the job post. So yeah, but different people use different styles. So it depends on what works for you best, but I'm a big fan of modified chronological one. Okay. Now, next is, again, not using enough keywords. This is, again, very, very, very important after the, mentioning the relevant experiences and relevant skills. So this is the second most important thing, enough keywords. Now, like many people, I see that, for example, they just list down their experiences or list down the responsibilities that they have in their role, and they do not worry much about the keywords. But I'm sure by now you know that your resume goes through the ATS first, no matter whether it's a big organization, it's a small organization. Usually, I would say most of the organizations use the ATS now, and different types of ATS. So again, it will go through the ATS first, and then it is going to go to the recruiter or probably to the hiring manager. And that's when the keywords, ATS is going to use the keywords on your resume to filter your resume and pass it to the second stage, right? So this is very, very, very important. So again, example, just a minute. So for example, if a job description mentions project management and budget forecasting, and you see probably this is mentioned once, twice, or 3 times, or probably more, you know that this is an important keyword. This is important skill they're looking for. So definitely these 2 words has to be there on your resume. Probably there is a job post you're looking at, and then it mentions about having skills in Power BI or SQL or Java or other programming languages. You know that those are the ones you have to mention, because those are the keywords. So I would highly recommend, like, for keywords, the best option is reading the job post again and again and highlight the keywords, and then make sure you add all those highlighted keywords on your resumes. You have to fit those in somewhere on the resume within your bullet points. This is very important, because again, ATS is going to match what percentage of the keywords, because the recruiters or the hiring managers, when the ATS is set up according to the job posting, they will mention that, okay, so these are the important keywords that you, like, hey, ATS, look for these keywords on the resume and give us the best match, right? So if yours doesn't match, for example, you have the relevant skills and experience, but you are not articulating it using the keywords that they have used in the job post, there is a high possibility that your resume is not going to be filtered by the ATS. So again, this is very, very, very important. Now, I understand this is a very time-consuming process when you go through the job post, like identifying the keywords, highlighting them, making sure that you have mentioned all those on your resume. This is time-consuming, and that's why we always tell our participants that please focus on quality above quantity. So many of the participants tell us, oh, Farhana, I applied to 200 jobs. Last month, I applied to 100 jobs and I got no response. So that's when we always tell them that don't do that. Don't just randomly send out your resumes. So always focus on quality rather than take sending hundreds resumes in a month, like probably 20 resumes per week. Take time, go slow, tailor your resume, customize your resume, focus on a customized resume, and then probably you can apply to, for example, maybe 10 jobs in a week, or I would say 7 jobs in a week. But you know that you have put enough effort on your resumes, and this is actually a good one. That's what you're sending out. So that, I would say, increases the probability of you, like your resume being picked up, rather than sending hundreds of resumes and then getting no response. So again, it will take a lot of time and effort, but end of the day, that is what is important, and definitely like you will have a more chance of getting a response. So that is very important, of identifying keywords and making sure incorporating all those keywords into your resumes. Okay, all right, next. Again, I just want to mention, I know that Alice has to go, so Alice, feel free. I know you have other commitments, so yeah. Okay. And next. So using the same resume for all job postings. I think this is the worst idea. This is the worst one can do in their job search. So you would never want to use one single resume for all job postings. I'm sure like usually most of the people that do not do this, by now they already know. People are very aware. They know what works, what doesn't work. But yes, so customize your resume for each job application. Again, I understand it's a lot of work, but this is very important. So this means, when I say customize your resume for each job application, this means if you are applying for 20 different jobs, you should have 20 different versions of your resume. So this is very, very, very important. Yes, you don't have to always tweak everything on the resume, but of course, you have to have the job title on the resume. That's why you need to have different versions, right? So we always recommend to add the job title that you're applying for, the job that you're applying for, adding the title on top, just simply copying and pasting. Now, for example, if you're applying for a data analyst position, you want to copy and paste data analyst on top of your resume. That is your targeted role, right? And this is, again, for your resume to be picked up by the ATS. So that's why we always suggest that. Now, for example, if I'm applying for, it says for a position, it says entry-level data analyst. So should I put like all of it, like entry-level data analyst, or just data analyst? All of it. Just copy and paste from the job post, entry-level data analyst. Or probably like, for example, even if it says data scientist and then dash like something, for example, make sure you copy all of it. The entire job title needs to be there. And then make sure it's on top of the resume. Again, we will talk about it during our one-on-one session when we are going to do the resume review. We will look at your resume and we will add our comments, and we are going to talk more about all these things during our one-on-ones. But this is what I mean by having like, different versions for each of your job application. Okay, sorry, what do you mean by the top, at the top of the resume under your name or something? Yes, under your name. So on top, you have your name, you have your contact details, and below that, right above your professional summary, you add that job title. Okay, and then should the title put on the first line for the resume? No, it's your name and then all your contact details, your number, your email, the link to your LinkedIn profile, the link to your GitHub, and then below that. So usually after that comes a professional summary. So we recommend putting it above the professional summary. Can you explain a bit more about the job on the resume? Not the job title. Ask questions as before. Okay, all right, that's fine. When are the one-on-one sessions? Okay, great question. So one-on-one sessions, we will open our calendar soon. So this is just the second resume session. And we will give you, probably, if I'm not wrong, the timeline is we want to give you 1 week time so that you can, look at your resume. You can go through all these, whatever we have discussed during the sessions, and you can incorporate all these things in your resume, and you get time to update your resume. Then we are going to share an email where you will share your resumes with us. And then we will start our one-on-one session. So probably after a week. So So probably from next week. Again, I'm not sure of the timeline yet, but I'm probably next week. I will definitely let you know. So yes. And we add the title, for example, entry-level data analyst, even if we never had formal experience in it. No. I didn't mean that. I said if you are applying for that position and the position and the job title is entry-level data analyst, then you're going to put the job title. So by job title, it's not that you're claiming to be a data analyst. That's different. No, it is just the role you're applying. That's it. How do we keep the consistency in the LinkedIn profile while we have different resumes sending out? I think there's a confusion here. I'm not talking about mentioning that, okay, you are a data analyst. Okay, when you put on top, it's not your role title. It's the role that you are applying to. So definitely all your information will match with LinkedIn. So there is no confusion with that. All the information that you have on your resume definitely has to match with LinkedIn. Now, I can give you a good example. One of my mentors, she used to explain it like this. So imagine LinkedIn as a warehouse. That's your warehouse where you have all your experiences, your skills, and everything. You have listed down everything on LinkedIn. So that is your warehouse. And these individual resumes are your store. So whatever you want to sell, now imagine this is winter, right? And so in winter, you are going to just bring out the winter clothes and you will showcase them in your store, right? And then when it's summer, you are going to bring out the summer clothes and then you will showcase it in your store. So tailored resumes are your store, and in the tailored resumes, you're showcasing the relevant skills and experiences that matches with the job post. But then again, you have lots of other experiences. You have done a lot. So LinkedIn is your warehouse. That's where, or we also recommend having a master resume where you're going to list down all your experiences, all your responsibilities, all your achievements and everything. And then time to time, depending on the job that you're applying for, you are going to, take the information from your master resume. So LinkedIn will look like your master resume. You're going to list down everything. But then again, of course, there cannot be any discrepancy between your LinkedIn information and your resume. For example, if on LinkedIn it says you are working as a data engineer from 2022 to 2024, you should exactly have that information on your resume. It should say 2022 to 2024. It should not say like probably 2021 to 2024. That's what I'm saying. Okay, I hope that answered the question and that clarified what I meant by adding the job title on top. Okay, and then how do we keep the consistency in the LinkedIn profile while we have different, okay, I think I answered that. Kalok, did I pronounce your name right? I hope I answered that. Okay. And then, all right, now when you are crafting your tailored resume or customized resume, so this is very important question to ask yourself, whether your resume is going to be task focused or achievement focused. What do you think? Task focused or achievement focused? Anyone? Okay, let's see. Achievement focused, achievement. Okay, great. Combination of both. Proper combination. Achievement. Okay, yes. Yes, great. Thank you so much for your responses in the chat box. Yes, definitely. Yeah, a combination of both, but your priorities should be achievement focused. Like your achievement statements are your priorities when you are crafting your bullets. That's what I'm trying to say. Based on job description. Yes, of course, based on job description. This is the most important part. Every time, whatever you're putting on your resume, every time you have to refer to the job description. Like, for example, I want to mention about my project management experience. Okay, should I do this? Like, this is a common question. Like I get a lot. Farhana, should I mention about this experience on my resume? Should I mention about that? I have this skill, I have this experience. And every time I give the same answer. Look at your job post. Did they mention about it? Yes, great. Put it on your resume. Did they mention about it? No. Do you think it's going to add value? I don't think so. Then definitely it doesn't need to be on your resume, because we want a clear and concise resume, right? We don't want a lot of information. So every time, should I put this? Should I put my project management experience on my resume? Look at the job post. Does it talk about project management experience? Yes, definitely it should be there. And then once you choose that, okay, I'm going to talk about my project management experience because it's there on the job post, I know it's important. Then comes the question whether it's going to be task focused. Should I list down all the tasks that I have done as a project manager, for example, or should I list down my achievements? So in that case, the answer is achievements. Your achievement focused, it has to be achievement focused. Your achievement statements are the most important parts. Now, let me tell you why. You might think that, okay, like I used to do 10 different things, and then you want me to write about my achievements. So I can only write about like 2 to 3 achievements. I don't have a lot. I was working for 1 year, 2 years max, and then I actually don't have a lot to write about. There are only few things I'm really proud of. So in that case, again, for example, if you are writing 5 bullets about your project management job, the top 3 ones or top 2 ones will be your achievement statements. Because as a hiring manager or as a recruiter, when I have crafted that job post, I know I have idea generally what a project manager does, right? So you don't have to tell me your everyday responsibility. So I definitely have idea that, okay, what does a project manager do on a day-to-day basis? That is not I'm interested about. Rather, I am interested about, why do you think that you were a great project manager? Why should I hire you? I will definitely I want to hire a great project manager. And then if you were great in your previous job, of course, that means that probably you're going to do some great stuff in my company as well, right? So that's why I want to know what special you have done. And that is why you are going to mention about your achievements first. So for example, if you're writing 5 bullets, your top 3 ones will be your achievement statements. And then you can list probably 1 or 2 additional responsibilities, which you think will add value for this role. So that's how you can think of, a good combination of achievements and responsibilities, but always keep in mind that achievements are the first priorities to go on the resume. Okay, now example again, responsible for managing the sales team. Again, very generic statement. I'm reading it, responsible for managing the sales team, and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, how big was the team? And what were the responsibilities? What they have, like, I understand this person managed a team, probably a lot of communication and collaboration, but then again, what was so special about it? I don't see anything special, right? So rather than that, achievement focused. And then if you write, led the sales team to achieve a 20% increase in revenue within 6 months by implementing new sales strategies, this tells a lot about you, right? So you led a team and then you were successful. There was a 20% increase in revenue, which is great. I definitely want this contribution, I want you to contribute like this contribution for my employer as well. And then within 6 months, so like a small time frame, not too long. And what did you do? You have implemented new sales strategies. So this is a very great statement. So you can understand clearly how the task-focused ones are very generic, doesn't give any specific information, most importantly, doesn't add any value, but the achievement-focused ones definitely add value, right? And also gives a better picture in the reader's mind. Okay. Just a minute. Just one moment. See one thing. I don't see it. Alice, are you here? Yes? No? Probably not. Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, sorry. So next, again, these are like most common mistakes, disclosing personal information. I know in some countries, but actually I wouldn't say this is a mistake, because there are many people who come from countries where it's mandatory to add their photo on the resume, or maybe adding their personal information, like, family information, whether married, unmarried, or probably like even in some countries, it's important to mention their like photos and then detailed address. This is important, and some people come from different countries and they say, oh, this is very common in my country. I would always add a photo. I would always mention about my personal information. But then again, you are in Canada and this is not important at all. Do not include any personal information. Even you are not required to add the complete address on your resume. And this is also not a good idea to add your complete address. So for example, if you're living in Toronto and you like Toronto, Ontario, and then you give a postal code, not needed. House number, unit number, road number, not needed at all. Just probably the city and then the province, that's it, fine. No more information required, and definitely don't add your photo. Even from our previous cohort, I was reviewing a couple of resumes where I have seen they have included photos and they're like, oh, this is very common in my country, but here, no, that is not required at all. And then including salary requirements, of course, I'm sure you all know that you do not have to mention your salary expectations in your resume. If it as long as it's not, it's not, oh God, even if it is not asked, don't mention your salary requirements. That's not important at all. Outdated contact information. Some people share email IDs I have seen, which they're not using, or probably they're not checking regularly. And then they use those email IDs for job applications. And then employers reach out and they don't know. And probably after a month when they're checking, they're like, oh my God, I was called for interview. I have heard these experiences from participants. So I thought it would be good mentioning that. Make sure you're using a current, contact info, even your number, your email, update them, and make sure you check them regularly. Irrelevant skills, again, if you're good at hiking, or probably you're very good at baking, you are a good dancer. Irrelevant skills, if this is not relevant to the position that you're applying for, don't worry about mentioning it. Don't just waste the space on your resume. Unprofessional email address. This is something we see very, very, very common. Like people, like by professional, I mean using your first name, last name, and usually this is not available. So you sometimes have to add numbers. That's fine. But some people will use very, I don't know, how do I say it? Like fancy email addresses, which doesn't include their name, and then entirely something different, like Fady this, or all those kind of things. So unprofessional email address is a big no-no, and I'm sure by all of you know this by now. Listing hobbies and interests. Some people I have seen, they list their hobbies and interests. Again, if this is not relevant, please don't include it on your resume. Not necessary at all. And mislabeling resume. Can anybody tell me what does this mean? What do I mean by mislabeling resume? Which is a common mistake again. Mislabeling. Anyone? No? Anybody? Mislabeling resume? What does it mean? Resume 1, resume XYZ 1014. Yes, exactly. Putting the wrong job title? Yes, of course. Yes. So what do you think is the most standard way of labeling your resume? What information should be there when you're labeling your resume? How should you label it? Can somebody give me a good example? Name plus role. Yes, of course. So it's your name and then the role that you are applying for. So that is the best way to label your resume. And can somebody tell me the format? I'm just asking, like, what format should you use when you're submitting your resume? Should you submit, as a Word document? Should you submit as a PDF? What do you think is a good idea? PDF. Yes, of course, because if it's a Word doc, we all know that the formatting changes depending on the device, right? The formatting changes, it messes with the formatting. So of course, PDF. Putting labels, name, LinkedIn, etc. in header. Is that a question? Reza? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
I just want to say an example about mislabeling. I had this mistake. I put my address, my LinkedIn address, and my name in the header, and the system can read It should be in the context of your resume.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much. Very helpful. Very helpful. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Reza. Okay, next is ATS. Now, how many of you have experience with ATS? Like probably you have worked with ATS, you have used some ATS probably at some point of your career, or what do you know about ATS? Anybody would like to share? Is there anyone who had to work with ATS, like screening resumes or did job postings, did some hiring and then had to use ATS? Anyone with that experience? No? No? Okay, so what do you know about ATS? What do you know about ATS? Carlos, yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I know that the ATS system is going to match whatever the job description is to whatever you have on your resume. And it's going to give you a percentage of how close it is to the job description. So you better make it as close and truthful to the job description.
Okay, all right. Anybody else would like to share? ATS, I have used JobScan. It does a great job in increasing the probability of getting selected. Yes, of course. And we are going to talk about JobScan, and probably Pew, as you already have experience, maybe you can help us. Okay. And yeah, anyone else? What do you know about ATS? Do you think ATS is a big thing? It is actually a barrier for our resume to reach out to the hiring manager. Do you think it's a good thing? What do you think? No comments, nothing? Okay, Julian, yes, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Perfect, perfect. I will say, well, I don't have that experience in JobScan, for example. I haven't used it, but I've been using ChatGPT to identify the keywords. So I try to match as much keywords in the job post is and my resume. So I try to match all of that, and obviously, tailor the resume properly and all that, and the location, also the location that I'm applying for. Those are the things that I consider to defeat the ATS, basically. But yeah, let's see if there are other ways to overcome that barrier.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for sharing, Julian. And I can see Saleha says filters the resumes according to the specific job description. Yes, absolutely, you're right. And Pu says bit of both advantage and disadvantage. Yes, but I feel it's more advantageous for the recruiters or the hiring managers rather than the candidates. But yeah, okay. All right, thank you so much for sharing. So let's see what is ATS. Even though I know like you all know what is ATS, but we're just going to discuss a little bit about that. Okay, now the key features, and I'm going to share about my personal experience using ATS, what I have done using ATS. And so the key features, as you all know, it's a software, it's a tool, and the key features are application collection. So it enables candidates to submit their resumes and applications online, resume parsing, so extracting essential information from your resume, and creating a searchable database, candidate screening, of course, it ranks and filters candidates based on the job criteria. So that is a job post, and assigns scores using keywords, and communication tool. It is also used in communication tool, like recruiters use it for sending of rejection or follow-up emails to the candidates. And also it helps with analytics, so provides recruiters with insights into hiring metrics. Now, it also does one more thing, which is job posting. ATS also does job posting. So for example, I used the ATS, like the most common ones are Workday, and then there is, I think there is, I forgot the name, people something, I forgot the name, but Workday is the most common one that you will see. And I personally used Jazz HR. So what I would do is I would do all the job postings through ATS. I'll just paste it like the job post. I just had to paste it on the Jazz HR platform, and then it will post to like 10 to 15 different platforms automatically. So I didn't have to actually go to all those job boards individually and do it myself. So I would just paste it in the ATS software, and then it will automatically post to all the different job boards. So it makes job posting very easy. So that is how I would start the recruitment process. So that is the first step, is job posting. And then the second is, of course, screening applications. So when the candidates apply, it can tell you that you have received 15 applications from LinkedIn, 10 applications from Indeed, 20 applications from Charity Village. So it mentions the source. So that's how we know that, okay, which job boards are helping us most in terms of reaching the candidates, because in HR, it's also important. So it collects the applications, and then it sorts the applications. So we can see, again, based on the keywords, it sorts the applications, that these are the ones which matches most with your job post. So it really makes the job for the recruiter or the hiring manager easy. And also what we would do, we could, again, it had some how we would filter. So we would add some knockout questions. I'm going to come to that part later. But also, so for example, after receiving all the applications, we shortlist them, and then the interview process is done, and finally the selection is made. So then the job was to send a rejection email to the other applicants, right? Because we have already closed the position. So we could also do all those communication through the ATS, sending all those rejection emails or sometimes follow-up emails. So this is my personal experience with ATS. But one thing I really want to mention, that with different posts, like I felt this personally when I was I would follow posts on LinkedIn, and people talk so much about ATS. Oh my God, ATS filters this out. ATS will reject your application. Actually, end of the day, yes, of course, ATS does all these things, but as a recruiter or as a hiring manager, if you want it, it doesn't delete your application. It doesn't reject, it just puts them in a separate folder. It sorts it, but it doesn't delete it. So if the recruiter wants, they can always go in and find your application and read the applications. In fact, that happened a lot with me. Like, for example, the maybe first 20 applications that ATS would screen for me, maybe I have gone through, and then probably I didn't find somebody suitable, and then I would go in and I'm like, okay, let me have a look at the other resumes as well, and then I would go in and check that separate folder, which probably did not match with most of the keywords, but then again I would go and check those resumes. So it is actually not that big of a barrier that probably like people talk about or like post on LinkedIn and all those. But yeah, so that is, I would say, that was my experience with ATS. Okay. Next is facts or myths. If you apply to the same job in the future, when they already have a file on you, does the new profile overwrite the old one? The one that I have used, it wouldn't overwrite. It can show that if it was the same job, it will show that this applicant, like it will show two applications, matching applications, and it will also mention the role. And if it was for two different roles, it will say, for example, Farhana applied for this role. This is our first application, and then Farhana applied for this role. So it doesn't overwrite. Like the one that I used didn't overwrite. It would save all the versions of the applications. Is it true that the recruiters only go through the applications received within the first 2 to 3 days of job postings, specifically bigger companies which receive a lot of applications? Yes, unfortunately, it is true. So again, from my personal experience, when I was in HR, I would post probably like 5 different jobs, right? Probably today's Monday and I have 5 openings, and I would post 5 different jobs today. Trust me, within like the first day, it would be more than 100 applications. So by the second or third day, it's already 250 to 300 applications. So, we want to hire somebody as soon as possible, because there's a position vacant. And of course, probably that team is suffering. Like they're maybe doing some extra work, or somebody is going to leave us soon, and we really want to fill the position so that others are not burdened by extra work. So we cannot actually wait, right? So recruitment has to be a very fast process. And again, it's time consuming. There are so many formalities, so many steps to follow. So you would want to right away start as soon as possible. So yes, so the first 1 or 2 days, like we're going through all the resumes and screening and then shortlisting them and sharing it with the hiring managers. So very likely within the first 2 days, 3 days max would be for screening. And then already we have shortlisted resumes that we would send out to the hiring managers, and probably by end of the first week or beginning of the second week, hiring managers have already started interviewing. So this is always a good idea to apply for a position as soon as you see them. So we also, this is actually something I wanted to talk about, but probably I would have talked about this at the end of the session, but good thing that you brought this up. So for example, very soon you will see that we are posting our employer job opportunities with you. So we have employer partners, our PBDOs are constantly working on building that relationship. And then they have the information about the opportunities that are available with our employer partners. So they will share with you. And then this is what we always see that I think we got this information today. So we were looking at some of the stats, like how fast our participants were applying to these employer jobs. And it was really interesting to see that it was at least, like our participants were taking at least 10 days to apply for those employer partner opportunities. So imagine 10 days is 2 weeks almost, right? So if we are sharing all those opportunities with you, and then if the participants are taking 2 weeks to apply, that's too late. So I really wanted to talk to this cohort regarding this one. Like if you see when we will start sharing the job opportunities, please apply as soon as you can. Of course, we understand tailoring the resume is important because you do not want to apply without tailoring your resume. So you have to go through the job post, customize your resume, but try to do it within 2 to 3 days max. The fastest is the best. The faster you can, that is the best actually. So again, yes, thank you so much for bringing this up. So this is important. Okay, and then Carlos, can you please elaborate on why it's not a good idea to apply to a job in LinkedIn through an easy apply? And then would you normally close the post when you receive an influx of applicants and shortlisted candidates, or when no? This is one thing which I have seen. We would not close the post. We would not bring down the job post until and unless the offer was accepted by the candidate. So there is actually a long time. So probably from recruitment, from screening to extending an offer, probably it's taking maybe 3 weeks, right? With all those background checks and reference checks and all those things. As I said, so many steps are involved. So if it is taking 3 weeks from screening to extending an offer, and probably by second week, the offer has been extended and we are waiting for the candidate to sign the offer and get back to us, but you will still see the job opening. It's there. We are not removing it, because what if the person rejects the offer? So we really want applications coming in so that if in case this person doesn't accept the offer, we have a lot more resumes to look into. So this is actually tricky. So you can see the job post, like me on the other side, probably I'm thinking as an applicant, oh, this position is open. It's been posted 2 weeks back, 3 weeks back. It's still there. It's open, but probably it's not. It's just there, and maybe probably they're done with the hiring. They have just extended the offer and they're waiting for the person to sign the offer. And that's why it's there. You see it, but actually the position is not open. So this is very tricky. Now, I don't know whether there are organizations as soon as they, because I think it's they cannot actually do it. And many I don't know whether they move it right away. For example, as you find somebody, you move it, but practically it's not a good idea. So I don't think many organizations that do that. They really wait for the person to accept the offer, and only then they will bring down the job post. So yeah, and then Carlos says why it's not a good idea to to apply to a job in LinkedIn through the Easy Apply? Again, Carlos, I remember you asked this question in the last session and we did not answer to your question. We said, okay, hold on to that question till we have our LinkedIn session. But generally, it's not a good idea because Easy Apply is actually, like, generally, I would tell you what. For example, I am posting it through the ATS, right? And my job posting is going to like 5 or 6 different job boards, right? Even though I am posting it through 5 or 6 different job boards, I am also at the same time, this posting is also going to my company website, right? So generally what recruiters do, they prioritize the ones that they receive through the website first. So that is our first priority, because through LinkedIn, there are lots of, like, probably you're receiving probably 100 resumes through LinkedIn, and you know that, okay, those will not be that high quality resumes. Usually when you screen lots of resumes, you know that which job board is a good source. So usually on LinkedIn, from my experience, people would just randomly Easy Apply is for those who are randomly applying to different posts. So that doesn't, and when somebody applies through Easy Apply and I can see that the application came through that, I know that, okay, this will not be a customized resume. Highly likely it's not going to be a customized resume, and highly likely this person is probably applying to 15 different jobs. So it doesn't create that, like, the first impression is not a good impression when it is coming through Easy Apply, because again, from my experience, I know that the applications I would receive from Easy Apply will not be of that high quality applications. That's why we always say it's not a good idea to apply for jobs through Easy Apply. Rather, if you see something, what I would personally do is, if I see something on LinkedIn, I will make sure that, okay, I will go to the company website, and then if I see that the position is open, I am going to apply through the website. That is one thing. Another thing you will see, if you try this, you will notice, I have noticed a lot of times, like, I see a job post on LinkedIn and then I go to the company website and then I am searching for the same job. On the website, it will say position closed, or you won't even see the job post. So that means it was there from before. Maybe they forgot to remove it. It's there, but actually the position doesn't exist and they're not hiring for the position at this moment. So that's why, again, it's not a good idea. Not even Easy Apply. Generally, I would say don't apply through LinkedIn. That is something I would say generally. Rather, go to the company website, see if that position is available. Sometimes I'm definitely sure if you try this, you will see that the ones that you're seeing on LinkedIn, probably it's not on the company website. So you know that they're not actively hiring for that, or it doesn't exist, or it was closed and then they did not remove it from LinkedIn. Because when the companies put out a lot of job posts, it's not always possible to track, which ones are on which platforms, which is still there. Like, probably I am deleting it from my end, but it still stays on some of them, or probably I forgot to do that. I just removed the one from the website, but I did not go through the job boards. So that's why it's not a good idea. Like, not Easy Apply, of course, but not a good idea not to apply through LinkedIn. Always check the company website first, and if you see it, apply through the website. Okay, what time is it? Oh, all right. Okay, 7:18. Okay, I think we have a few more minutes. And then we will go for a break. I know everyone is tired already and you need a break. Carlos says, thank you very much. You're most welcome. I hope I could explain. And trust me, you will love the LinkedIn session. You will get a lot more information about LinkedIn, and I'm sure you will find that session helpful. So yeah, so stay tuned for that one. Okay. I have the same question. Should we bother applying for roles which are 2-3 weeks old? I would probably say no. Check the website. Again, if you see on the website, it's still there, still think about it. Think about it. I won't highly recommend. 2-3 weeks is a lot. By 2-3 weeks, a lot of things are happening behind the scene in the HR department. So I would say ideally within the first few days, like first 2-3 days best, or within the first week. But otherwise don't. If you have to like work on your resume a lot, if you think like, okay, I have to put this application together, it's going to take me 5 to 6 hours, and this is the job that I'm looking at, and it's already 2 to 3 weeks old, then I would say no. If you have a resume ready, you think that, okay, I don't have to put a lot of effort on this one, and I can just simply upload my resume, and it's a job like from 2-3 weeks back, and you don't have to spend so much time. Yes, you can give it a shot, but I wouldn't recommend investing a lot of time and energy on, updating and then tweaking, matching your resume with the job post and all those things for something that's been posted 2-3 weeks earlier. So yeah. Okay. All right, now let's look at some facts and myths about ATS. Let's see, do I have any more questions? I don't think so. Okay, good. All right, now what do you think? ATS automatically rejects resumes. I think I already answered to that question. I shouldn't have. What do you think? It's a fact or myth? Fact, myth, automatically rejects resumes. Okay, I'm going to skip this one because I think I already talked about this. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, this is something I really wanted to talk about, the knockout questions. So what we would do, like most of the ATS, they have these knockout questions. So this is also one way of filtering the application. So we would set these knockout questions. Sometimes these knockout questions would be generic, like for all the jobs that we are posting, the knockout questions will be same. And sometimes the knockout questions will vary depending on the job post. So for example, I can tell you that for my previous organization, some of the knockout questions were like, are you legally eligible to work in Canada? That is one question. Second is, are you based in Ontario? Because I am hiring for a position and this is not a remote position and it's a hybrid role. The person has to come to the office in Toronto 3 days a week. So that was one of the knockout question. Are you based in Ontario? Are you based in Toronto, Ontario? Then there was another knockout question like, are you willing to work in a hybrid model? So 3 days on site and 2 days off site. That was also important. And there was another knockout question like, will you need sponsorship, for you to work in Canada? So all those, and it depends from organization to organization. And I'm sure when you apply for positions, you have also seen, like sometimes they will mention how many years of experience you have in, and they will mention a specific skill. So that means that is very important for them. You have to have at least 3 years of experience. Sometimes you will see they will talk about work permit. Sometimes you will see they will ask for your salary expectations and all those. So you know that those are the knockout questions. And then if you say no to one of them, you know that, okay, that's how the ATS is going to filter your resume. So we could actually see that, okay, these are the 5 knockout questions. And then this applicant responded no to 2 of them. And that's why the ATS has filtered the application, in a different folder. It did not flag it to the hiring manager, but rather it moved it from the queue. Yes, Lisa, any question?
Yeah, I have a question about the ATS, like for example, the sponsorship question. So if you put no there and the ATS automatically knocks your resume out, isn't that kind of unfair? Wouldn't people lie then if they know that's a knockout question?
No, actually, we were expecting will you need sponsorship? And then you said if people say no, like if they said that no, I don't need sponsorship, is that what you're saying?
No, so if that's a knockout question, right? And you say yes to that, your resume is going to get rejected. So I don't know, should
No,
people lie about that?
For example, if this is a question like, will you need sponsorship to work in Canada, right? And now, why I am asking this question, because my company, the employer doesn't provide sponsorship support. So that's why I don't want anybody who will require sponsorship support, because I cannot help them. So my expected response is no. Now, you are saying from an applicant's point of view that if you say no, then the resume is going to be rejected, whether it's fair or not. That's what you're asking, right?
Right.
So in that case, no, it's actually not fair, because to work in Canada, you will need a work permit, a valid status, right? You have to be eligible to work here. And if you don't have the work permit, and as an employer, if I cannot support you with the work permit, after going through all those round 1 interview, round 2 interviews, written assignments, and all those things, finally, when we will be ready to onboard you, we will ask for all those work permit related documents, and then you will say, oh, you know what, I don't have a work permit and I need my employer to support me. So imagine investing all these 3-4 weeks and all these stages, and after all this time and effort, we cannot hire the person because of the work permit issue. So it's a waste of time for the employers as well as for the candidate. So that's why it's not unfair to the candidate. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I was also thinking about the US. Like, for example, like there's a lot of questions, like application questions that say, like, do you need sponsorship to the US, right? And so like automatically, like people have to say like yes to that, like if they require sponsorship. So that's kind of like a knockout question, right?
Yes.
For anyone outside of the US.
Yes, of course. Of course. Because that's a requirement, and employers have to abide by all these laws, right? They cannot hire. There are lots of requirements to meet. They have to consider a lot of things before onboarding somebody. And again, as you can understand, recruitment process, it's lengthy, it's time consuming, it involves a lot of people. So as I said, after all these investments, all these time investments and then efforts and everything, finally, when it's time to onboard the person, if you cannot hire the person due to work permit issues, that's such a waste of time for everybody. So recruiters are very careful about not to waste their time. And also, of course, the candidate's time. So if you see that question which says, do you require sponsorship? And you know that, okay, yeah, I require sponsorship. So don't apply for that, because again, that employer will not be able to help you. So it will be a waste of your time as well. Okay. And then there's another question. What if we are applying to an internal post, meaning the role exists in a company where we are presently employed? Would these same rules likely still apply? These same rules, which rules you're talking about? Can you clarify a little bit? Which rules? If you mean, are you talking about the sponsorship one, or if you could elaborate a little bit? I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yeah, my question was about how we're talking about knockout questions. Basically everything that you would have discussed previously, does that still apply if you're applying internally?
Actually, like it varies from organization to organization, but generally, when you are an insider, you are an existing employee, there is a different way of collecting their resumes, like expressing your interest. It will not usually come through the, like the same application process that external applicants are facing. Usually it's different. Now, again, this is of course not applicable because the person is already working within the company. So that means there is no issue with their work permit or anything, because HR has already checked all your documents and everything and made sure that you're allowed to work, you're eligible, and that's why you were hired. So for internal ones, it will simply be moving from one role to another. So definitely all those questions, confusions, or concerns are not there, the ones that exist for the external ones. And also within the ATS, there is an option to collect the internal applications separately, and then it will be entirely a different folder, which will say these are internal applicants, and then there will be a different folder for the external ones. Okay. Questions. What are your thoughts on applying to entry-level roles that state a minimum year requirement, such as 1 to 3 years, without actually having those formal years of experience, but you have all the required skills listed? If you mean 1 to 3 years, okay. So you mean you have all the required skills, but you have 0 experience? So in that case, if you have no experience, how did you acquire the skills? Was it like during the time you studied? Was it during a course? Generally, I would say if it is like, for example, 1 to 3 years of experience and entry-level roles, you have all the required skills. And again, I don't know, probably maybe you have gained all those skills probably during a project or when you were studying or during a course, but you actually don't have real work experience. I would say go ahead and apply. But again, I'm not talking about those knockout questions, but go ahead and apply, but highlighting like, why you think you are a good fit, even though you don't have 1 to 3 years of experience, highlighting how you have gained your experiences and how those align with the, job requirement. But when you are applying, if you see that question is there, like, do you have 1 to 3 years of experience? So that then you know that it's a knockout question. So yes, again, there is no harm in applying, but probably your application is not going to be, prioritized when it's going to be compared to other applications that came in, probably those of who will say yes to that knockout question. Did that answer your question? I hope it did. Okay. All right. What time is it? 7:30 p.m. Okay. I'm just gonna quickly go through the questions and then we will go for a break. Okay, a 10-minute break. What are your thoughts? Okay, if I apply other provinces job but my address and phone is showing Ontario, will that be a fact that HR will consider? Yes, of course they do consider. I have seen many hiring managers when I was working with hiring managers, and I would forward a resume because I know that, okay, I feel that this is a great candidate, and then probably the location will say probably Calgary or some other, in a different city, or maybe within Ontario, but probably far from Toronto. Then again, they would say, oh, you know what? We don't want to waste our time because they are not gonna, it's an on-site role, like hybrid, they have to come 3 days. I don't think they are going to later on agree to be on-site. They're not going to be interested. So we don't want to waste our time. So that was a challenge, which I personally felt was not like, I would say it was not always fair, because I don't know, like we don't know, probably the person applied, and when you're applying and that's a knockout question, that will you be willing to work in a hybrid role, and the office location is given as Toronto, and even after seeing that you applied, so I think that means the candidate is ready to relocate, right? Or probably it's manageable for them. So that's why they have applied. So that was my rationale, that we should still consider these applicants. But I have seen many hiring managers rejecting the application. So I would always say, if you're applying for a position which is in a different location, I would always say in the parentheses or in the brackets, whatever you call it, mention willing to relocate, so that it's not a concern for them. They know that, okay, even if this person is residing in a different area, they're willing to make the commute, or they're willing to relocate, or it works for them. Somehow they're going to make it work. Okay, yes, in working in corporate through a program like this, or certifications, etc. Thanks. Okay, all right. Okay, so it's 7:32. Let's take a 10-minute break, and let's get together at 7:43. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. See you all after 10 minutes. I would request or recommend not to log out. You can just move away from your desk or just leave your device. But let's just stay in the session. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so I'm back. I hope everyone is back. Okay. Is everyone back? Should we start? I really want to finish by 8:30. I know it's first day of the week, and it definitely first day of the week is always busy. And then again, many of you probably had your job, and then you're joining the session, and tomorrow you have work as well. Okay, Saleha is back. Thank you so much, Saleha. Okay, probably I'm gonna wait 1 more minute and then we will start. Okay. I hope everyone is back. And then again, the recording will be there just in case if you miss anything. The recording is always there. So we will upload the recording as soon as we can. Okay. All right, so let me just share my screen and no, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, so moving on to the next one. Yes, thank you, Anna, for confirming. Thank you for confirming. Okay. Again, now some facts and myths. We will go through this very quickly because I have a lot of other things to discuss with you. So ATS rejects all resumes with fancy designs. What do you think? Is it a fact or myth? Do you think it rejects all resumes with fancy designs? Yes? No? Fact? Myth? Anybody? Okay, all right. Myth? No? Yes, no, 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 yes, no, okay. All right, mixed responses, no. Yes, definitely it's a myth. No, it does not reject all resumes with fancy designs. But again, as I say, like probably some of the ATS, the most updated ones or the recent ones, upgraded ones, they usually can read different formats. But then again, the issue is we don't know which organization is using which version of the ATS or which softwares they're using, whether they're using the old ones, they're using the latest ones, we don't know. So that's why we don't want to take a risk. But it doesn't mean that it's going to automatically reject all all resumes with fancy designs. Probably it might miss some information on the resume. So you don't want to risk it by using fancy layouts. ATS cannot read tables and columns. Again, fact or myth? What do you think? Fact, myth, myth, fact, myth. Yes, exactly. So this is a myth. It sometimes, again, depending on which ATS is being used, the latest ones can read tables and columns, but we will not use it. We will try avoiding using it because we don't know which organizations are using which versions of the ATS. So this is a myth, of course. And ATS eliminates all candidates who lack specific keywords, like all resumes, the ones that lack specific keywords. What do you think? Fact, myth? Myth, fact? This is a myth. It does not, no, it's not a fact. It does not eliminate. Again, as I said, it keeps them in a separate folder. It will probably give a low score. It will assign a low score. It will keep it in a separate folder, but everything stays within the ATS. It does not automatically delete. Hiring managers and recruiters always have the option to go in and check those specific folders if they want. So it doesn't delete, but yes, it will definitely probably not highlight, like flag your resume. It will definitely not filter your resume for the next step. It will keep it separate. It will not give you high score. Yes, but generally it's not going to, delete or eliminate your application or the resume. Okay. All right. Next. So let's see. So just as an example, this is a random example. And then this is here because we wanted to tell you that, for example, as you can see the format, look at the format here. There is a box, a text box with colors. And then you can see this is, there are two different columns. And I think, you know that these are like, we call this newspaper columns. So for example, you submit this resume and you're very happy with the structure. It looks good. Wow, it's, good colors, and then it's pretty clear, concise. I really like my resume format. But then again, after the application, you don't know whether it's, old version of the resumes or it's the latest ones. You have no idea. Now, probably the employer that you have sent your application to use is using the older versions. And then ATS cannot read, will not be able to read some of it properly. So for example, there could be a possibility that ATS will not be able to read this section, which is in a text box, separate text box, and then it has some colors, and also probably it's going to miss out all this information. So it won't extract those information from your resume. Also, there is a high possibility that ATS is going to read this. For example, it will read summary experience, 6 years experienced Excel expert, left to right, right? Excel expert, armed, soft tech. So as you can see, the entire information will mess up, right? So that's why we always say keep it simple, keep it very basic, don't take the risk. We don't want to mess up, you know, like we don't want our resume to mess up depending on what ATS employer is using. Okay, all right, very quickly, I'm just gonna quickly mention that this is how the ATS reads information. So left to right, and then again left to right, and then next left to right, or top to bottom, and then again from top to bottom, okay? Now look at this one, this format. This is something we recommend. This is the format we recommend. As you can see, it's pretty basic, doesn't have any fancy font or any text boxes or colored text boxes. And then, so this is a paragraph to start with. And the top part is very basic name and then all those details. And the skills section are in bullets. So it doesn't matter if the ATS is reading from left to right, the information will be correct. It's not going to mess up the formatting, you know, that the ATS is following. And also, again, if I'm reading left to right, these are bullets. So it will make sense, like customer service, sales expertise, closing and opening, productivity and maximization, and then reading left to right. So this will make sense when you use this format for the ATS. Okay, no issue with the icons. Which icons? You mean this one's, the location, this one's, the little, this one's? So yes, again, I won't suggest adding icons, of course not, but even if you are, so probably imagine they're not being able to read this icon, but that text, the plain text beside the icon will be there. But I won't suggest adding all these little like icons here. I won't suggest it. But if you are adding these icons, but then beside to it, you have this plain text. So it's not going to, probably it won't be able to read the icons, but it's not going to mess up with the information. Okay. All of them. Okay. Yes. So next is, okay, so keyword research. So what to do, like, you know, to beat ATS, what you're going to do, of course, keyword research. We talked a lot about it. Like the more keywords you can incorporate in your resume, you can add to your resume, that matches with the job post. Which keywords? The ones that are mentioned in the job post. There's the higher the score it's going to be, and the higher the chances of ATS picking your resume, shortlisting it for the next step, right? And then incorporate industry-specific terms, skills, and qualifications into your resume. Tailor your content, customize your resume. Again, already we talked about it to align with the job application. Resume formatting, we already discussed it. What type of formats, fonts you should use, what type of formats and fonts you should avoid. So I'm not discussing this again. And of course, having your contact information. This is something I want to mention. Spell out acronyms. If you are using acronyms on your resume, please make sure you use the full form in the parenthesis. Mention the acronym, because again, depending on which industry you're coming from, and then, so probably there are some special jargons that you're using, and then probably the hiring manager or the hiring team is not that familiar with that jargon. Probably you're from a different country and it was said something different, which is entirely different in Canada. So again, make sure that you are mentioning the full form if you're using acronyms. So that is something important I wanted to say, and then we can move on to the next one. File format. Of course, you know, we already talked about it. Save it in PDF formats, label your resume right, your name, and then the role that you're applying for. Avoid graphics, spell check. I'm not going to talk about this anymore. And let's move on to, okay. Accuracy, utilize the format. Okay. Again, this is all same thing. Okay. Now this is one thing that I get a lot of question regarding this one, but this has changed actually recently that I have noticed. I'm sure you have noticed too. So earlier, like, you know, LinkedIn would show a job post like this, and then it says 71 applications, and then many people, like, again, including myself, initially I would think, oh my God, there are already 71 people applied for this job, so I don't stand a chance, I'm not going to apply. But this is wrong. So 71 applications doesn't actually mean that 71 applications were submitted for this job post, but it means 71 clicks. So 71 clicks. So for example, if I am looking at this now and then I just want to click on it and then see the details, or maybe probably have just clicked on the apply button just to see what is the next step. But then I decide, okay, no, I'm not gonna, apply for this role. It's fine. I was just checking. Then it will say 72. So when you see this number, don't feel demotivated to apply for the job post, because 71 applications doesn't mean 71 actual applications. But now I have seen that LinkedIn has changed it, and it says probably 71 clicks. It clearly mentions clicks, so you don't have to worry about it now, because LinkedIn clearly mentions, because this was confusing earlier. Okay. And then keywords. Now, there is a lot of question we get. Like, I feel many people, they find it very difficult to identify the keyword. Like, I have read the job post a lot of times, but I really do not understand which keywords I should focus on. I feel a lot of, words, like most of the words are keywords, most of them are important, and there is a lot, and I don't understand which one I should focus on mentioning on my resume. So there are two ways actually. So I have seen people do it in two ways. So that's why we talk about, like, I'm sure others might have some different ideas. If you do it differently, if you have a different idea, please feel free to share, and then we can all learn from you. But generally, I have seen people doing, creating a word cloud, and then it actually, like, the important words or the most used words in that text will stand out when you create a word cloud. And then you know that, oh, okay, so this one says data, Azure, analytics, and then project. So I know that, okay, these are the most important keywords, because these are the words that were used most of the times, like many times in the job post. So this is one way. And the other way is through ChatGPT. Of course, you can copy paste the job description, and then you can tell ChatGPT to highlight all the keywords. And then ChatGPT is going to give you a list of keywords, and then you can think of how you can incorporate those keywords into your resume. So I find the ChatGPT one easier, but again, we wanted to talk about both the options. But if anyone here knows about a better way to identify the keywords, please feel free to share with us. Okay, so for this one, do you want me to show how to create this word cloud? Anybody? If you want, I can do that. If you're not interested, I can skip to the next one and do the job scan one. Anybody interested in this? Yes? Yes, please, love to. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, great. Okay, fine. So we can do this. This is actually very easy. I'm going to stop sharing now, and then I'll show you. So there are actually lots of websites. I am just, going to show you through, wait, it's called, where is it? There are lots of free online word cloud generators. You can use anyone you like. Just for the sake of showing it now, I'm just using wordclouds.com. Let me just go to a job post, wait, on LinkedIn. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to share my screen. Share screen. And then this. Okay. So, no, wait, stop. Okay. I think it's going to. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah. So for example, this is the job post, okay? This is the job post I want to apply to. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the job description from here, because I think the most important information will be here. I'm copying the responsibilities section, qualifications, all these things, education. And then these are the requirements, because it says the ideal candidate for this position will possess. I'm sure that there will be a lot of information in this section too. And then I can skip the last one, because it talks about compensation package, which is not important. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this part. And then I am going to this website again. As I say, there are lots of free online word cloud generators. You can use anyone you like. And then I'm going to go to words, and I'll do extract words from text. And then I'm going to just copy and paste all of them and apply. So you see, this is the word cloud that it generated for me. And then you can see, I don't know whether you can see it properly. Yeah, all right. So as you can see, it says data, and then, wait, let me just, okay. Yeah, and then it says process, reporting, accounting reports, and also it says analytics, financial. So you can see these important words. But again, as I said, I find that there will be some, like, as I said, I find using ChatGPT more, easier than this. And then you can see it says SQL. So, this is important. So you can look at all the big words, and you can find out, okay, these are the keywords. These are the ones that important words, because these are the words that were mentioned most on the job post. So this is one way. And also, again, the easiest one is on ChatGPT. Just copy and paste it and tell ChatGPT to identify the keywords that you should highlight on your resume. And I think ChatGPT does a great job with that. You can create the same word cloud app using Python and Matplotlib. I don't know, Farshi, thank you so much for sharing. I don't have IT background, so I don't have experience with Python and the other one that you have mentioned, but thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure people who have experience in Python are, they would definitely, probably they know, or probably they can try, but thank you so much for sharing. This is like, this is a very basic one for somebody with no IT background. Okay. Actually, I tried studying computer science for the first 2 years, and then, there was a lot of programming and all those, and I'm like, I don't think that's for me. And then, unfortunately, I just quit after 2 years of studying. So I got my diploma in computing and information systems, and then I just quit. Yeah, it was not my thing. I'm not that genius. Okay. All right. And then, okay, let's go back to the presentation. Any questions on this one? Anyone? Any questions? Yes? No? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go to the presentation then. Okay, so that's about that. And let's see. Okay, now let's go through job scan together. Now, anybody, I know that PU, if I remember the name correctly, says that they used job scan and found it really helpful. So anybody else has tried job scan? Anyone? Yes? No? Did anyone try job scan? Yes, no, yes. Okay, Saleha used job scan. How was your experience, Saleha, with job scan? Did you find it helpful? And then Jing Ken said yes. Richard, no. Farshid, no, no. Okay, all right, we have a good mix. Yes and no's. Oh no, I think no. Many people say no. Okay, great. So Saleha and Piu, if I remember the name correctly, I'm going to share like very briefly how we can use job scan. Yeah, it was really helpful. Okay, great. And then if I miss anything, and if you have a great tip you want to share, please feel free and just jump in. Okay. All right. Because I have used it a couple of times. Thank you so much, Saleha. But yeah, and then I found it helpful too. But then again, I didn't use it that extensively. So if you were using it, like if you have used it a lot and then you have some great tips to share, please feel free. Okay, so job scan, again, it's an online tool. And let me, oh no, let me go back here. This one. Won't let me skip this. Why not? So I'm going to go to job scan, and then I'm going to share my screen again. Name is it? We still have some time. That's good. Right. I promise I'm not going to hold you longer. Okay, so this is job scan. And then I would just log in with my Google account. I think this is the most easiest. I'm going to use this one. And scan your resume. Okay. Didn't sign me in. Why didn't this sign me in? Okay, all right. Now, I just want to mention one thing. When you will log in, if you have not used job scan before, what you're going to see is it will say available 5 scans. So you get 5 scans for free. Now, I know previously there was this bug in this, in this tool. And then you could just, after 5 scans, what you could do, you could just put some random email ID, and then you could log in and get 5 additional scans. But I have tried it myself. I wish it wasn't fixed, because I tried it myself last night, and then I have seen that it doesn't work. I also tried with creating temp email ID, like, the temporary ones that you can just create, and because you don't want to share your personal email ID. And then there are lots of platforms that you can use some temp IDs. I have also tried with those like dummy email IDs, but then again, I see that it didn't work. Okay, so either you have to have, like, if you have exhausted all like the 5 free ones, then you have to create a separate email ID, and then you log in and you get 5 more scans free. Otherwise, you have to upgrade the plan. But maybe anybody would like to try. If any random email works, that's great. But when I tried, it didn't. Maybe use a VPN. I haven't tried. I just tried with temp emails, like the dummy ones, and then it didn't work. I tried with random ones, it didn't work. But then I have 2 emails. So when I logged in with another email, I saw that I got another 5 free scans. But yeah, you can try. And then I'm sure there are some IT experts here. So if you can figure out, fine, or we have to simply upgrade if you find it useful and you really want to use it. Okay. So then what we're going to do is, again, here, like there is an option I have seen. If you try the power edit option, probably then it reduces the number of scans. So there is something, probably you won't want to use this one because it reduces the number of free scans, if I'm not wrong. But then again, feel free to explore. Okay, now there are 2 boxes here, as you can see. It says create new scan, and then you drop your resume here, and then you drop the job description here. Okay, and then you ask job scan to scan, and then it is going to scan and look for how much of your resume matches with the keyword that's mentioned in the job description. Now, again, I'm going to use the same job description. For example, this one. Copy, and then I'm going to paste it here. Okay, and then I have to paste a resume. So what we have, I'm going to use the one that we have shared with you all, the resume template. Okay, so I'm going to use this one. Okay, this is here for a reason. I'll tell you later why. I was experimenting to see actually, so, okay. So I'm going to copy this resume information, and then I'm going to go here, copy paste resume. Okay, so I have the resume, and then I have the job description. Now I'm asking job scan to scan. As you can see, the match rate, it says low, right? Low match rate. And then as you can see, and when you're going to log in for the first time, it will give you a small tour. It will tell you what to look for, which sections are more important, and how you can increase the match percentage. So those will be helpful too. But this is not my first time logging in. That's why I'm not saying it now. But if you log in first time, you will see all those tips. And then it says an initial low match rate is normal. Find a quick boost. Begin by adding missing hard skills. So it is telling you to focus on the hard skills, focus on matching the hard skills. Okay, And then let me go down. I'm not looking at this section. There are lots of things you can do. You can also add the URL link. Then JobScan is going to try to find out what ATS your employer is using. And then based on that, they're able to give you suggestions sometimes. So there are lots of features. I haven't tried all those things. I'm just going to show you the very basic ones. Again, feel free to explore. I'm sure you will find this helpful. Okay. Now this is the high score impact, as you can see. So we are looking at the hard skills first. So it says match the skills in your resume to the exact spelling in the job description. Prioritize skills that appears most frequently in the job description. This is what we always tell you, right? And this is also another reason why we suggest copying and pasting the job title from the job post, exactly same, just simply copy and paste. Don't change anything. Even if there is a dash, don't remove the dash. Keep it exactly same. Okay. And then it says, let's look at the skills comparison here. And then you can see this is the skill. This is if the skill is on your resume, and then how many times it has appeared on the job description. So we can see financial data, and then on your resume, there's nothing mentioned about this. This word doesn't exist on your resume. And then in the job description, it's been mentioned once. SQL, there is, it comes in the resume 3 times, but it's mentioned in the job description 5 times. So this is fine. You don't have to match exactly the number of times it's mentioned in the job description. Your goal is to make sure that you at least have mentioned it once. And if you have really, if you see that probably Power BI is mentioned 10 times, you know that that's a very important skill. So then maybe you want to mention it at least a couple of more times than one time to because that is a very important skill and to increase your match score. And then Power BI mentioned twice on the resume, on the job description. It's a lot more, like 5 times. Data analysis, again, same. And then you will see some are shaded like this, like blur. You're not going to see all of them. So there's a trick here. What you can do is, for example, this. Now, let me just try to copy this. So, okay. Now, for example, this is not there on my resume. What I'm going to do, again, I'm just copying and pasting it here, but that is not what you're going to do. You will make sure you will use that word somewhere within the bullet points, somewhere that financial data word has to be there. You're going to fit in practically. It's not like randomly dropping all the keywords. So rewriting your bullets using all those keywords. But for now, just to show you, I'm just going to paste the word here just to show you how it impacts the match score. And then, okay, so I'm going to, oops, here. And then SQL, and Power BI. I'm just going to type it because I know some of them here already, because that's taking a lot of time. And then there was Power BI as well. So I have these 3 words already added to my resume. And then I have probably, okay, Tableau and then Python and all those, right? Highlighted skills. As you can see, it says highlighted skills. Okay. Well, let's see. Accuracy, analytical, attention to, no, this is the soft skills. Wait, let me go back. Strange. Oh, doesn't it take me to the last one? Okay. Data analysis, AI, financial analysis. Okay, I'm just going to write it here, just as an example. Data analysis. Analysis. Now imagine you have used all these keywords in your resume. And then let me see. Now I'm going to copy this again. So after I'm done, I take all those information from JobScan. I know what are the important keywords. I'm incorporating them into the bullets, right? And then I'm going to, once I'm happy with it, I'm going to copy my resume again. And then once again, I'm going to ask JobScan to scan my resume. Now this is the updated one after I'm done updating. Okay, and then the job description stays same. This is the updated resume, right? So let's see. Scan. See? Now it is telling me that it's 33% match. Now, ideally, it says, see, great work, you're making progress. It says you want to reach a score of 75%. Now, reaching 75% is difficult. It's not that easy. You have to do it again and again, a couple of times, and then you will reach 75%. It's difficult. But if you can match 75%, you know that this is a good resume in terms of matching keywords. Okay, so it definitely impacts your score. You can see it right away. So, and then also you will see that the other ones, like slowly, once you keep adding the previous ones, you will see there are more words, more new keywords that will become visible to you. Okay, so this is just, I mean, this is one, I mean, just as an example I'm showing you, because of course you want to do it again and again, a couple of times. So if you want to cover all the words, but so the goal is not to match it with the number on the job description, but at least make sure you have it once. And also you have to think about which one is more important. If it is mentioned probably 10 times, any scale, you want to talk about it probably 2 to 3 times at least. So that is a general idea. Okay, any questions? Any those who have already used JobScan, any tips, any ideas you want to mention, you can share that I missed out. I know I didn't discuss it like in detail, but yeah, anybody, we can do that. We still have a few more minutes left. Yes, no, all good, no questions? Okay, great. So you were in the same cohort. I'm sure the ones who have used JobScan like more efficiently, they can help the others. If somebody reaches out, feel free to help, please. And yeah, okay. So I'm going to move on to the next one. So this is the JobScan one. And then of course we have ChatGPT. And I know like by now, all of you know how to use ChatGPT. There are a couple of prompts that we have mentioned here. We thought you might find this helpful. So feel free to try this and then see if it works for you. I'm not going to read this out because we will share the slide deck with you. So it's there and you can always refer to the slide decks later on. And also, of course, the recording is going to be there too. And again, as you can see, for those who did not use ChatGPT to tailor your resume, so again, you can see the prompt, tailor your resume. You can see, you can tell ChatGPT, personalize my resume for this service tech role at this company. Here's a job description. So copy paste the job description and then copy paste your resume, and then ChatGPT is going to customize. But so this is something everyone pretty much, you know, has done, like maybe once or twice or probably more. But this is not something I want to emphasize on, but I really want to emphasize on personalizing it. So ChatGPT is going to do the base work for you, but please do not use that same exact resume. Make sure you personalize, because a lot of times you will see ChatGPT is just giving generic information, and always if you are trying to add any information, like for example, if you're writing a cover letter and you want, like ChatGPT is, you tell ChatGPT, okay, can you give me some like probably financial information about this company, or highlight or tell me some few you know, important things about this organization that I can highlight on my cover letter. And you see ChatGPT give you some information, please make sure you fact check, you research, you find out, because I have seen oftentimes ChatGPT gives wrong information. So make sure you fact check and like check as many times as possible, and don't trust ChatGPT with the information. And again, don't just blindly copy and paste the tailored resume that ChatGPT does for you. Make sure you personalize it. The base structure is there. So definitely the work is way more easier. And of course, it is saving you time. So please make that effort to personalize it so that it doesn't look like a simple copy paste, because again, recruiters read hundreds and hundreds of resumes. And when they see a resume or a cover letter, they understand right away whether it was just simple copy paste from ChatGPT or you have actually, like, there was some human factor, right? So okay. And then note of caution, of course, sharing confidential information, lack of personalization, which I just talked about, errors, again, I talked about this, and knowledge of hiring managers. So this means sometimes like we want to personalize a cover letter, and we always say that it's a good idea to address the cover letter, to the hiring manager. But if you collect that information from ChatGPT, probably it could be wrong. So do your research, go to LinkedIn, find the HR people within that company, and then if you can find the hiring manager, great. If you're sure that this is the hiring manager, then you can address the hiring manager. Otherwise, if you're not sure about the information, just generally, like, don't mention any name. Okay. All right. And sometimes actually it's easier on LinkedIn because you will see the name that this person is hiring for this role. So when you know that, and when you see that on LinkedIn for some job posts, you can use those names and you can address them directly in the cover letter. Okay. Yes, of course. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah. Okay. And then okay, so that's it. Again, I would really love to get your feedback, like if there was anything important that you think have learned, if this session has helped you in any way, any new thing you have learned, or probably you find some useful information. I would be really glad to get your feedback. You can let me know through email, through Slack. We have different channels for communication. And also, now what's next? So this is about the presentation. Let me tell you about the next step. So again, as I said, probably we are going to give you 1 week time. Now that you have attended both the resume sessions, you know that what you need to do on your resume. If at all you need to change anything, feel free to take the time and update your resume. And then we will share a link where you have to upload your resume, your professional summary, and also we will request you to upload a professional headshot. Okay, now again, the professional headshot doesn't require to be clicked by a professional photographer. Of course, you can just do it with your cell phone. Just make sure it's neat and your like upper half, your face is featured and it looks professional with a probably neutral background. And yeah, so that is the next step. Now, one thing that I want to mention is, so when you will upload your resume, like we ask you to share a Google Drive link. Now, this is something I really wanted to discuss because from my experience with dealing with the previous cohort participants, I have seen that there is a lot of issue with sharing the Google Drive folder. I often find that participants create a Google Drive folder because that is what the instruction is going to be. We will request you to create a Google Drive folder, save your resume, save your professional summary, save your professional headshot in that Google Drive folder, and then share the entire folder with us. Now, what I often see that participants do not share the folder. They save everything in the folder, but then they don't share it. So when we click on the link and we want to, have a look at their resume and we want to get into the folder, it says you don't have access. So I thought I will add some screenshots, like if in case you are confused, like I don't know how to create a shared folder, just in case, because I have seen many people, don't do that, and then it's time consuming. So we have our one-on-ones for 40 minutes, and then probably 10 to 15 minutes it's just waited, just trying to get access to the folder. So I'm just going to quickly share these screenshots here. So again, the first thing that we will request you to do is create a folder with your name, right, in your Google Drive. Now, please don't use other platforms. Google Drive is the most convenient one for us, so please use Google Drive. And so imagine you create a folder. So, and then this icon you can see here, like with a little human icon that you can see with a plus sign, so which means share. When you hover your mouse, you will see share. And then you will see initially it is set to restricted. It will, okay, I'm sorry. Let me just do it. Yeah. You will see that it says restricted. So that means nobody has access to this folder. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to change this one. And then, so if it says restricted, and when you click on it, you will see two options, restricted and anyone with the link. So anyone with the link means anyone with the link will have access to this folder. So you have to tick this one because this is the option that you want to set it to. And then there is another thing, as you can see, it says anyone with link, but there is another problem because it says viewer. So that means I will have access to your folder, but if I want to add my comments to your resume, I cannot do that because I am just allowed to view. I am not allowed to edit. I'm not allowed to comment. Okay. So the first step is changing the restricted option to anyone with link. And then next, what you're going to do is click on viewer, and then you will see three options: viewer, commenter, editor. You want to set it to editor so that I can, add or I can comment on your resume. So please set it to editor and then share the Google Drive link with us. So we will have no issues with that. Okay, so that's all I had for today. Any questions, anybody? I'm good that we still have 5 more minutes. Okay, I know that I finished on time. Any questions, any feedback, any concerns? Anyone before we go? How would you address a cover letter if you do not have the hiring manager's name? Very generally, dear hiring manager. Okay, all right. Yes, no questions? No? Okay, great. I don't think there are. Okay, Julian, yes. Please go ahead. Any question?
Yeah. Well, it's not related, but you mentioned it about the salary expectations. Are we going to have like a session of negotiation or not at all?
Sorry?
Are we going to have a session about negotiation the salary expectations or no?
Actually, this is a very good question because what we're doing is we are actually trying to incorporate it within the part of our, as a part of our sessions, but haven't finalized yet. But this is something we are working on, and this is something which has been on the table, and we are discussing about it. We really want to find a good person who has the experience to deliver a workshop and, comes with that extensive knowledge and practical ideas. So I will take this back to my team, and probably if we have any information, so definitely we're going to share it with you.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay. And then common mistakes in resume writing was so helpful for me. Thank you. Thank you so much, Raza. And Saleha said, I just want to add that using the Power Edit section in JobScan and trying matching the keywords with the highest scores is much easier in my view. Thank you so much, Saleha. I read your comment. I hope whoever is trying JobScan after the session today, they will give it a try. And then surprisingly, my applications don't get selected even after 75% match rate. Yes, of course, because let's be practical. Even if you match 75%, that doesn't guarantee call for interview, right? Because there are lots of factors. That is only the resume matching part. That is only the beating the ATS part. But then again, definitely in addition to that, I personally feel you should always try to connect with the hiring manager or with the recruiter. Personal connection works way better than resume. So of course, resume is just one part of your job application. One part, customizing, tailoring resume is just one part of your job search journey. But then networking, I think adds plays a very vital role in job search. So of course you have to have your resume polished, but then again, make sure you do your research, try to find the recruiter, try to reach out to the hiring manager, send them a message, connect over LinkedIn so that you stand out. Because again, hundreds and thousands of resumes they're receiving, and it's just one document for you. It's all your hard work, probably your 5 hours and 6 hours of effort into that document. But for the recruiter, it's just one document out of thousands that they receive, right? Okay, I hope we would have a session on networking as well. Do you suggest sending a LinkedIn message or an email if you can somehow? Of course, send an email, send a LinkedIn message. Yes, of course. If you can, definitely do it. And yeah, so our next session is going to be with Christine, if I remember the name correctly. Yes, that's Christine. And it is going to be on networking and interviewing skills, which is again next Monday. Same time. I am sure that you've attended, those who have attended the first session, you have really enjoyed the session. I was there, so I really enjoyed. And yeah, so that is for next Monday. But of course, I'm going to send you all a reminder again on Friday, because I know there is a lot that, on your plate already. Okay, I hope we would have a session. I mean, which one is preferred, LinkedIn or email? I would say LinkedIn because you can see actually if the person has seen your message. With email, you have to think about, okay, did the person get my email or not? But with LinkedIn, I feel it's easier. Please give us your email. Okay, you don't have my email? Okay, all right. But yes, thank you so much. I am going to, okay, let me type my email. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for being with me so patiently, and most importantly, for being interactive, asking your questions. I did not feel bored, and I did not feel like I was the one who was lecturing. And thank you. Yeah, have a good night. Farshid, do you have any question?
Thanks, Farhana, for a wonderful session. So I missed that part. We are going to upload 3 items to the drive. One was the resume, the other one was the headshot. And what was the third one?
Professional summary.
Okay, I'll do. Thanks.
Yeah, but don't worry about it. We are going to send detailed email regarding that, so don't worry about it. It's just, I'm just giving you a heads up so that you know what's coming next. But yes, definitely you're going to get all the instructions through email. So yeah, all right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Stop recording. Yeah. Do you want to stop? Yes. Oh no, I didn't cancel.